We talked not too long ago about the shooting of 22-year-old Stephon Clark. That's a situation where he was in his own backyard, and the cops said that they had to kill him because of the imminent threat to their life. Turned out he was holding a cell phone, I think, as is so often the case. Totally needless killing. And something interesting happened in the immediate aftermath of the shooting of Stephon Clark. There's an individual, it's a Republican, Anne Marie Schubert. She is the DA for that area. And she suddenly started to get donations from groups and individuals in the law enforcement community. And so the California Statewide Law Enforcement Association gave $10,000 to a re-election campaign 2 days after the shooting. 3 days later, the Sacramento County Alliance of Law Enforcement made a $3,000 contribution of their own. And overall, it turns out that in her various election campaigns, she's been given $470,000 from law enforcement affiliated organizations. That's more than 1/3 of all of the funding she's ever gotten from anybody. And some of it now is coming in immediately after the shooting. And she is, of course, the individual who's going to have to decide if there will be charges against the police officers. And you will be shocked to find out that that money, the $470,000, wasn't for nothing, and it wasn't given randomly. In the past, she has been extremely hesitant to put charges forward for cops who are involved in shootings or even killings of even unarmed individuals.
It's really disappointing, and it's disappointing because it's not surprising. And furthermore, my disappointment stems from not having really seen this picked up by mainstream news. This should be really outrageous and incredibly suspicious. I'm sure that there is a counterpoint that it's not, it's just what it is.
It's just speech.
It's speech, right? It's not a big deal, but it is suspicious. And I wonder why this wasn't getting the coverage, you know?
Yeah.
I guess I don't need to wonder, I know why.
Yeah, we do sort of know. And to some extent, I think it's partially is that this is operating at a level of politics and society that the media is not typically interested in. They're interested in the cops perhaps, they're interested in the politicians, but the people in that sort of middle ground, they don't really pay attention to, even though people like DAs wield extreme power, especially in large metropolitan areas. And justice very often depends on their whims, on serendipity when it comes to these DAs. And a lot of them are extremely close to law enforcement, I mean in terms of association, but also financially. But this is legalized bribery. We know what this is. We can look at this. We're not stupid. We know what this is. And we've sort of grown at least slightly numb to politicians being bought off. But the idea that those who are directly involved in questions of justice, that for less than $500,000 over a decade or so, cops can just get away with murder if they want to. It's amazing, and I think that this is exactly the sort of story that should go national. It deserves to. And thankfully, I want to give credit to Sean King, who wrote an article about this for The Intercept. And he's part of an organization called Real Justice PAC that is working to elect progressive DAs around the country. We're actually going to have him on the show in the near future to talk about that, and hopefully about this case in particular, because this is like the definition of injustice.
Well, I think that we've become very numb in the United States to money exchanges within positions of power, immense power. And we don't understand how that really works. People don't really follow this up, and so they know that this is bad optics, but they also know that no one is paying attention and that no one cares because we are so numb to it. We just sort of understand that politicians get bought off, so of course DAs can get bought off, and that's just sort of how the system works. We might not like it, but it's how it is. What could we do to change it? And I think it's important to highlight stories like this so you can highlight organizations like Sean King's so that we can let people know that there are things that we can do, specific actions that can be taken to change this so that we can have justice.
I think you're 100% right. They have had a sweet deal on this side for a long time, hundreds of years now in this country, and it works out for them. If you're running for office, you get the money, you get the backing, you get cops who'll pose behind you in photos and all that. It's amazing for you, and the cops get to continue on without making any sort of the necessary reforms. It is a great situation. Unfortunately for them, there are things that we can do, and we can get involved in these elections. The fact that she has re-election campaigns implies that there will be an opportunity to vote her the hell out of office if we want to. And so I look forward to possibly doing that.